Spoken
I
language.
haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I haven't dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Cape Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andien's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken language.
You wake up one morning after not reading a book since your school days and you decide to be a writer, with no good or bad writing to compare against your own. You just know how to write and anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Hell, maybe they're jealous of your natural ability to craft a masterpiece. After all, most people need to learn through a combination of books, courses, critical feedback and workshops. Not you though. It's not their fault they don't realise your natural talent, but they soon will.
How to Write Wrong is the new book by Amanda Steele. The book, which is an interactive story, gives the reader multiple options throughout its story. The book can be purchased from Amazon.
Spoken
Thank you
language.
today for tuning in to Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and as of recording has over 200 sessions in our archive. Although the podcast can be heard on Anchor, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, YouTube and literally 10 or 11 other networks, the full archive can be found at Spoken Label, all one word, spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. On Bandcamp, it is set as pay what you want, so you are entitled, if you wish, you can download it or stream it for nothing. But if you throw me a couple of pennies my way, it is always eternally grateful to help me maintain the operating costs and future running costs of this podcast. Enjoy.
Spoken language.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house and on Zoom again today. We're across the seas today because we're interviewing in a country that's not England and not Ireland, which I've been chatting to a lot recently. But I've got a young lady who's in Paris at the moment, was originally from Ireland, and she's just trying to teach me how to pronounce her name. So I'm going to attempt to say this now. So Annmarie, tell me off if I get this wrong, okay? It's Annemarie Ní Churreáin. Is that right, or is it not bad for me?
That's a great effort, and it's very close. So I really appreciate that pronunciation.
Annmarie, seriously, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them who you are, which part of Ireland you originally come from, and what started you off with all your creativity, and we'll take it from there.
Well, my name's Annmarie Ní Churreáin, and I'm a poet, writer, and collaborator working with artists in a variety of disciplines. And I'm originally from Donegal, northwest Ireland, the Gaeltacht region, which is where the Irish language is still spoken. But I now live in Dublin, and I'm currently on residency at the Centre Culturel Irlandais in Paris for a month, where I'm working on my third poetry book. So, yeah, that's me.
That's good to me. Now, I know you said before, obviously, I know you were educated originally, weren't you, at the Oscar Wilde Centre at Trinity College in Dublin. So tell us about that. So was that where your love of poetry really came from then originally, or was it before that?
Well, I did the Masters in Philosophy in Creative Writing at the Oscar Wilde Centre in Trinity, but I did that after I'd been writing for quite a long while. So the writing really kind of began with my childhood in Donegal. The Gaeltacht region is really quite rich in mythology and folklore and traditional Irish music. So for any listeners who know Clonid or Altan or Enya.
I love Altan.
They're all from the same area of Donegal that I'm from. So that landscape was really rich in, storytelling, poetry, live music. And I think that was maybe not the reason that I started writing poetry, but it definitely gave me the confidence to write and to begin experimenting and doodling. So I think 2010, then skip forward many years, I was in a job where the funding was kind of winding up. I used to work in the community sector, and I just had the opportunity then to really go for it with the writing and to say, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. I'm going to do this master's and knuckle down and see if I can really get serious about a poetry collection. And that was really the beginning then of a journey that has been just taking me into all sorts of corners since, and on all paths. And so I write poetry, but it's kind of one of the things that I do. I also do workshops, I do reading tours, I do collaborations. I've written an opera libretto. So
oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I kind of, I do many different things other than just writing at the desk alone. Yeah.
Same for me as well, because it's I started up myself 30 odd years ago as a writer, and I'd never dreamed when I got to the age I'm at now I'd be hosting podcasts all the time, doing ambient music, and like I said, running workshops. I love doing workshops with people. Have you found then, since we've gone into lockdown, then has your approach to being creative changed in much, has it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm impacted in the way that everyone is really. I mean, my day-to-day has been very curtailed. I mean, I'm used to working with other people quite a lot in my practice. I've worked in prisons, or I've worked in schools, been writer in residence in various places. So I'm used to kind of being on the road as a writer, and also that's very much part of my process, going to different sites and monuments and buildings. Like, the poems come out of landscape for me. So I love being busy as well. So March 11th, like, everything just changed when word broke in Ireland that we were going to have to stay indoors and cancel everything for the foreseeable future or postpone it. So yeah, absolutely, I have been impacted. But that said, as a writer, you're kind of naturally inventive, and you find ways of adapting your practice. And I've been doing quite a bit of that, and thinking to myself, okay, well, I can't be traveling and I can't be working alongside people face to face, but I can use this time to write and to immerse myself in bits of research and to kind of dream up new ideas. And there's other ways that I can use my time as well. I mean, that's how I cope with lockdown anyway. I know everyone's situation is wildly different.
Yeah, completely. In my case was, and I'll see about you, but to understand what I'm like is, I worked during the day, and I got sent home on, I think it's just after 11th of March, and told that I'd be a diabetic, to keep in touch with them every week. And so there was don't try and go mad in the process, but like you are, because I'm creative, I just thought what would be great again, just kept really busy doing new projects and just finding things to do all the time that I couldn't do previously.
Like, a lot of gardening got done, a lot of housework.
Housework for me as well.
A lot of reading.
Reading as well, definitely with that one. So it's different. Life's been very different in the past 6 months, and hopefully we all can come out of it soon. So I want to ask you, learn about your 2 books then, obviously, because first of all, your first collection, Bloodroot, came out in October 2017. Tell people about the process of that book then, what led you to write that book?
Well, I guess writing it's so often a process of revelation, isn't it? I mean, I thought that I was going to write this book after my master's, which was about the physical landscape and about the folklore attached to plants and trees and sites. And I had this idea of what I was going to write. And then I started writing, and I realized that the poems were taking me off in a completely different direction. And that I felt compelled to kind of dig into the Irish history associated with the lives of women and children in Ireland over the past 100 years. And that was not something that I knew consciously that I wanted to write about, but it's just something that unfolded as I got into the poems. So bloodroot is actually a wild plant. It's a wild plant that's used for healing wounds, but it also, if used incorrectly, can be quite dangerous. And that's the title of the book. And I think that title speaks to this idea of woundedness and healing, but it also speaks to the idea of wildness. And so the physical landscape and how information is embedded in the physical landscape about the lives of women and children and their stories, like those are all themes of that first book, Bloodroot. And then let me see, the second book, Town, is a letterpress book published by the Salvage Press, and that's a series of poems about the Dublin landscape. So there's poems in there about, let me see, there's one that references Mountjoy Prison. There's another long poem in there that is like a reimagining of histories associated with the Liffey River. Yeah, so they're in a way they're very different books, and each book is each book is just a whole journey, and you never truly know when you begin that first poem that's going into a new book, like where it's going to take you or what you're going to be thinking about in a year's time.
Yeah, no, completely. So I must admit, as a writer, I'm always tend to have several projects in the go at once. Are you that sort of writer on the books, or did you get one book done then start on the next book? Did you?
I would say, because I have a full-time practice as a writer, and I'm a self-employed person, that I have to juggle lots of different projects at once. And there are times where I would just love to concentrate on the next collection of poetry, but same. I regularly have to keep kind of 4 or 5 things going at once. Let me see, like some of the other projects that I'm working on at the moment, I'm in a poetry collective, or collaboration is a better word to describe it, called Sworn States. And it's 3 poets who were working together on a book and also on a performance. And it's funded by an award called the Markovich Award, which is given out by the Irish Arts Council and the government. So that's really nice, to work with 2 other poets and to sit around a table and to think collaboratively and to, make work in response to our conversations with each other. That's been really fun. And that's been almost a new way of working for me. So I'm working on my own collection. I'm working with Sworn States on a poetry book. What else have I done? Yeah, this libretto that I've co-written with an Irish composer, Michael Gallen, and another writer called Dylan Coburn-Gray. That'll hopefully be next year. I mean, everything now is kind of, the timeline is uncertain with everything. So there's that as well. So yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part about being a writer, is that you just get asked, to write a poem, or like I've written lyrics to a song, and it was set to music by a 4-part harmony group called Landless, and wow. That was a reimagining of the life of Bridget, the pagan goddess, wow. before she became.
Is that song been released? Has it? Or? I'm going to
Yeah, I think that song, it's called Lura of Regia. It's by a group called Landless. That's available online. It's on YouTube. It might be on a few different platforms. But that was so much fun to create a text and to hand it over to performers and to just see how they brought it to life. Like that's like a new passion of mine is writing texts that I give to performers, because it was
brilliant. I've done it myself in its bits and pieces, and you always get something out of it when you hear them do it for the first time. You're sitting there thinking, wow, I can never envision it been done like that. So you always get caught out in a nice way, I think. So
yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah. So tell us, obviously, I know you're in Paris at the moment, aren't you, on a project for a month? So is there anything you can tell us about that project in Paris at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm here for a month, and I'm here with a collaborator of mine, Kimberly Campanello, who's also part of the Sworn States group. And like, we each have rooms here and access to a library, and we have time and space to work on our Sworn States poems, but also to work on our own collections as well. And I guess the idea is that you have time out of your own busy schedule to like really concentrate on writing and editing and immersing yourself in bits of reading, and also meeting other artists here as well, which gosh, I'll never take that for granted. I mean, having done like intense lockdown in Dublin, it's really lovely to be here in Paris and to have some interaction with other artists working in other disciplines.
Yeah, of course.
So,
have you found it quite a different experience than have you found it quite a different experience working in Paris and where you're writing and then we normally do in Dublin?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm very influenced by environment and landscape. A lot of my poems come out of the environment and come out of the histories attached to buildings or sites or monuments, or, you know, visiting graves, or, you know, having a look at my surroundings and what evidence of the past remains in the environment, if that makes sense. So like, it's not unusual for me to be out kind of climbing fences and trying to find ruins and trying to find wells and, you know, looking for these traces of history in the landscape. So being here in Paris is just, you know, it's pure pleasure, because everywhere you go, it seems like there's a poem. You know, wake up in the morning and, you know, I'm right in the middle of the Latin Quarter and the bells are ringing and I've got these tall windows and the light is coming in and it's a poem, you know, and then I step outside and I hear another language and, you know, hear people talking in a language that that seems like a poem. And it's just, you know, it's kind of it's just so stimulating. I really love being out of my ordinary environment. I'm not super attached to my desk for writing. Now, sometimes, you know, I am attached to my desk for editing, but if you want new poems, like I just can't be, you know, I just love being out and about.
Yeah, same for me, because when we were in lockdown, we were on the back of like a very non-league cricket ground at the back of where we live, and we weren't allowed to obviously see people. I wasn't meant to really leave the flat, but I was doing it, but being careful. I wasn't seeing anybody. Disappeared to back his cricket ground and just listen to animals chirping, and that used to inspire me massively.
Oh, lovely.
As I know what you mean, completely mean with that. So when you get back to Ireland or Dublin in say a few weeks' time, is there any projects coming up there that you can talk about?
Yeah, so a lot of my projects and work have moved online for the rest of the year, and one of the things that I'll be doing is a series of creative writing workshops for a place called the Songhouse. And the Songhouse is based in Donegal, and they're doing these online workshops. And I think they're taking bookings now at the moment. You can easily find them online if you're looking for a creative writing workshop. And let me see, for the end of the year, I'll be doing a reading for Aigsha Michael Hartnett. and that will be happening in October. And then also, if your listeners are looking for some online poetry readings by other people, I'd really recommend the Kildare Readers Festival. And I'm curating a few podcasts actually for them. So yeah, things are ticking over. You know, I'm still busy with online activities, and then I'll also just be trying to bring this new collection of poetry to fruition as well.
Cool. Is there anything you can reveal about this third collection?
Oh, yeah. It's, you know, I'm always worried about talking too much about a project before it's finished, but there's definitely a focus on the incarcerated voice. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed for this next collection is looking to the old Brehon laws in Ireland, and looking at kind of pre-Christian landscapes and laws and practices and what that was like in Ireland. So yeah, they're going to be poems that look at the incarcerated voice, and that they are also going to interrogate cultures of violence in Ireland. You know, how does violence manifest through the patriarchy, and how does violence kind of find its way into our interactions with each other on a day-to-day? Like, I'm often writing about sensitive histories and also about trauma, and so those themes come up again in this third book. But beyond that, listen, it'll go its own way as well as poems do. So I'll just have to let it breathe and evolve as well over the next couple of months.
Yeah, of course. I know I said before, like, you don't know a project sometimes what we're going to end up with, and can definitely be into end of it. So good luck, definitely. So, yeah. Well, that's all my questions today. So, if people want to find out more about you, where would it best go?
So, if people want to order Bloodroot, that's available on durapress.com, and Dura is spelled DOIRE press.com. And if they want to find out more about like my practice and all the other things I do, they can find me on studio25.com, and that's spelled out studio25.com.
Perfect. I've got that here, so I'll get that straight down for you. I found that one.
Yeah. So do you want me to end with a poem? Would that be?
Why don't we take a quick break?
Oh,
and
yeah.
That way you can get yourself composed.
Okay.
I always like to take a quick break, and then you can pause it, can't you?
Okay.
Then we'll come back, and when you're ready, we'll do a bit of reading then for you. So.
Okay.
That's okay,
perfect.
is it?
Yeah,
okay.
That sounds good.
Hang around, everybody. We're back in a minute.
Spoken Mate.
Hi, guys. Okay, straight over to Annmarie. She's got a poem for us today. Over to you, my friend.
I'm going to read a poem from Bloodroot, which is titled Family Law, and it references the old alphabet in Ireland, which is also known as the tree alphabet. And this poem really came about when my goddaughter Ruby, she was around 6 or 7 when she was doing her first Holy Communion, and she became really kind of militant about how people would practice their spirituality. Like, she was really kind of not impressed that I wasn't going to Mass. And I was tucking her into bed one night, and she said to me, like really worried, she said, "Well, what do you believe in? And what's going to keep you safe?" And I just thought, oh my gosh, these are such big questions for a small child. So I wrote this poem in response to those questions. And in our 6th summer, you bring me the news that we come from a broken rib. Now you believe we are in danger. Now you believe we must atone for the sins of our fathers. But daughter, we come from the spryest woods. You and I are of the roots that uphold an alphabet to the sun. Your name begins in Roosh, mine in Alm. When we speak, leaves fall from our tongues. Birds nest in the smallest of our words. For this wildness, we need not apologize. What grows underfoot is not a worry, it is a right. By chieftain law, no harm can be done to us. This law our elders knew by heart, for even the milk in a cup was owed to it. Long before the houses of worship were raised, by men our trees stood tall.
Brilliant. Great stuff, Annmarie. Absolutely, really evocative. Thank you for that. That was brilliant. So, like I said, guys and girls, it's been a pleasure today. So, Annmarie, hang around. I need a quick word with you off mic.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're all done today. So, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the podcast.
It's been really fascinating today. It's great stuff. Thank you. Take care, guys and girls. See you soon.
Spoken, mate. Spoken, mate.